Today's lesson is Lisa Su, Fueling AMD's Rise. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike.
And I'm Roger.
And today we are in day 2 of our look at the fascinating life story and career, of course, of Lisa Su, the Taiwan-born tech CEO, one of only 55 female CEOs of big Fortune 500 companies there in America. And yes, she's in charge, of course, of AMD, which after IBM is one of the world's leading microchip makers. It's a big semiconductor company. We learned quite a fascinating story that she was born in Taiwan but moved to America at the very young age of 3 years old, where she, I guess we could probably say quite safely, adapted very well. She had parents who encouraged her in her math and science education, and she had a natural affinity and enthusiasm for tech, taking things apart when she was a little kid and graduating with a PhD from MIT in 1994 when she was around 25 years old, after already getting her bachelor's degree and her master's degree along with her PhD there at MIT. And she was given some good advice, wasn't she, by John Kelly, a senior staff member that she worked with early in her career.
Yep, he said, run towards the hardest problems, and I guess she followed that advice, and now she's quite successful as a result, although I'm sure she has lots of other people to thank for encouraging her along the way. So let's continue talking about Lisa Su in today's lesson. Let's begin with the first part. We'll listen first.
In 2012, Su joined AMD as Senior Vice President. At the time, the company faced big challenges, including ongoing losses, stiff competition, and changing markets. Things weren't much better when she was made CEO in 2014. Yet, by setting clear goals, she was soon able to turn the company's fortunes around. It shifted its attention from low-earning phone chips to high-performance computing and AI, which paved the way for the company to buy key chip design and data center acceleration firms.
大家好，第一部分介绍形容词 stiff， 它的意思是激烈的或是严厉的。例如 The company faces stiff penalties for violating environmental laws. 该公司因违反环保法规而面临严厉的处罚。接下来看到名词 competition， 表示竞争或是竞赛。例如 The competition for the job was fierce, with many qualified candidates applying. 这份工作的竞争非常激烈，许多有资格的候选人都来应征。或是 There is a sense of competition between us because we both think we're the smartest in the class. 我们之间有一种竞争感，因为我们都觉得自己是班上最聪明的。继续看到名词 chip， 它的意思是晶片。例如 This chip is what lets your smartphone send and receive information. 这个晶片就是让你的智慧型手机传送与接收资讯的东西。也可以说 To get the computer to work, one of its chips will have to be replaced. 需要更换其中一枚晶片，才能让那台电脑正常运作。另外 chip 也有薯片的意思。例如 If you continue to eat chips, then you won't be hungry for dinner. 如果你继续吃洋芋片，那你晚餐就不饿了。再看一个例子 This new flavor of potato chips is too salty. 这种新口味的洋芋片太咸了。接着介绍名词 acceleration， 表示加速或是增速。可以说 You won't have any problems driving on the highway due to the car's excellent acceleration. 由于该车加速性能出色，你在高速公路上行驶不会遇到任何问题。又或者说 I want to congratulate you on this acceleration in sales. Good work. 我要祝贺你的销售业绩加速成长，做得好。
Okay, so we're moving along. Remember, she graduated from MIT with a PhD back in 1994. And in 2012, Su joined AMD as Senior Vice President. Okay, so I guess she was working for IBM for quite some time there. And then later she got another job at AMD. She joined this company and she was a Senior Vice President. Okay, so of course she's not the top person in the company. She's a Senior Vice President, or at least she's was the senior vice president. So I guess she was second in command of this particular company. That's a great place to start. And I suppose she figured out a way to get rid of the CEO. I'm going to get rid of him and make it look like an accident, and I'm going to take over this company.
Oh my gosh, this sounds like a wonderful TV series we should watch. But yeah, that's a very important position. There's vice presidents, and then there are senior vice presidents. I imagine there would be like 3 or 4 of these people.
Probably, yeah.
All working under the CEO, under the president, the top person in the country. If you're the vice president, you're one of a few just below the top person. So very, very high levels of authority and executive power in this company. And if you were hired at that level, a lot of people might be hired at a younger age and sort of work their way up through the company structure. But she was hired to be a senior vice president. Clearly, she had a stellar career and resume. They picked her out from another company and brought her over to basically run and manage huge parts of this huge AMD company. It says at the time, the company AMD faced big challenges, including ongoing losses, stiff competition, and changing markets. AMD has always kind of run second to IBM. They've always been the other big chip maker, with IBM sort of ruling the roost and AMD always being kind of the little brother, if you want to look at it that way. And at that time, particularly in 2012, this company was facing some great challenges, big challenges, it says. What kind of challenges? Ongoing losses, so they were still losing money. Their chips just weren't quite as successful or as popular in the market. There was always stiff competition. A lot of other companies make chips, make them at lower prices and things like that, or develop better chips faster. So competition was stiff. When we talk about competition, these are the people you're playing against, or in the world of business, the people you are in business against. You're making the same thing and you're trying to get the same dollars from the same public, the same consumers. And of course, if one company is doing better, then that company will have more success and the other company will always be playing catch up. And that was kind of the situation here. So the competition, the rivalry, the way they were sort of fighting against each other to try to get consumer dollars was difficult. It was challenging. It was stiff competition. Stiff competition means, yes, your rival is very, very skilled, has a high level of ability. You're going to find a real challenge to play against that person. So if I'm playing tennis against a person who only started to play 3 months ago and I've been playing for 20 years, that won't be very tough or stiff competition. But if the other person is really pushing me and their skill level is just about where mine is, or even better, wow, it's going to be hard for me to win that game. That's going to be really stiff or difficult or challenging competition. And of course, at that time, they also had changing markets. Fewer people buying PCs and large computers, more companies looking to make tiny chips to put in cell phones and cars and things like that. So the market, the nature of their business was also changing, forcing the company to adapt, and also kind of forcing companies to predict where the market will be in the future, right? What kind of chips will people want 5 years or 10 years down the road? Because we have to be developing those types of chips today. So it was a really tough time when she was brought in to work at AMD.
Yep, they have to make educated guesses about future market trends, and sometimes companies don't learn fast enough and they lose in the competition. Like Kodak, remember, they just totally lost the boat or missed the boat on that one with digital photography. They relied too much on film, and now Kodak is a company that nobody really hears about anymore.
Actually, Kodak, I just read, are hip again. Young people are buying their old cameras. So maybe if you wait long enough, your company will be successful again. But you're right, there's a good chance you will bankrupt before that.
Yeah, that's sort of the trend for analog technology. You know, like you like vinyl records, and some people like film cameras and stuff like that. But that's a topic for another day. And she needed to respond to those changing markets, so things weren't much better when she was made CEO in 2014. So she probably tried to make some changes in the company, but they were still suffering those ongoing losses, the stiff competition in those changing markets. And then she became the CEO in 2014. Yet by setting clear goals, she was soon able to turn the company's fortunes around. Wow. Okay, so in this sentence, we've got the term turn around, to turn something around. You could turn yourself around if you're walking on the sidewalk and you discover, oh, I've walked too far. I'm past the shopping center. I need to turn around and go back. So here, of course, turn around means to change the direction of something, and the company was not doing very well. They were losing money. They were not responding to changing markets. So she was able to turn the company's fortunes around. She started making the company profitable.
She was told to run towards the hardest problems, and she sure did, and she was very successful yet again. So how did they do it? Well, it says it shifted. That's AMD. It shifted, or it sort of changed its attention, its focus in business. It shifted its attention from low-earning phone chips to high-performance computing and AI, which paved the way for the company to buy key chip design and data center acceleration firms. So this is kind of Lisa Su looking into her crystal ball. And back in 2014, everyone was making cell phones, and you could make chips for Apple or Samsung and all the other companies that are making little cell phones and stuff. But they kind of figured that, and I think she obviously has been proven true, the cell phone market is kind of saturated. Everyone has a cell phone. We're not upgrading them and updating them every year as we used to. The new phones and chips that come out seem to be pretty similar to the ones that came out 2 or 3 years ago. So that's not really where all the hot, interesting action and development is happening in the chip world. So they shifted or changed their attention from what most people were doing and what AMD had been doing, these low-earning phone chips. They're very small, they're fairly simple, and they don't cost very much money, or they can't charge very much money, so they earn very low profits for the company. And of course, if one company is selling most of those chips to the big phone makers, then it's hard for the other guys like AMD to get in on that business. And even if they do, they're not making that much money. They're low earning, they're not very profitable, these phone chips. And of course, a chip is a microelectronic device. It's very small. It processes a lot of information very, very quickly. It uses silicon, and it uses computer electronic circuitry, and it's basically the brain of any computer or any electronic machine you have. We have chips in pretty much everything from your digital watch to your coffee machine to your car and, of course, to your computer and cell phone. So they moved away from some of those sort of consumer chips, the cheaper ones, into very high-level chips, high-performance computing and AI, chips that can process billions and billions or trillions of processes per second, not the simple little chips, the really powerful ones, the super chips for the most powerful computers. And this is paving the way for the company to buy key chip design and data center acceleration firms. So they were building basically a network for themselves to be successful in what they saw would be the future of microchips, not the ones for phones, but the ones that are used in AI, the ones that are used to process vast amounts of data, both for sort of commercial uses, but also to run the high-end video games and things like that, too. Very powerful chips. And so to pave the way for something is sort of to lay the groundwork. We're preparing for the future. We're doing the work now as if we're preparing or building a road in order to pave, which is to lay down a road across the landscape. You're paving the way. You're creating the way to go forward, the way for the company to go forward and to do better in the future. They were buying key chip designs, so some of the companies that were making the latest chips, these little companies were bought up by AMD and incorporated into their company. And also they got data center acceleration firms. Acceleration, that's to speed things up. So a data center acceleration firm could be firms that process vast amounts of data and use some of these high-tech chips, these very, very fast chips. Well, those also became part of the AMD company.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's move on now to the second part.
Under Sue's leadership, AMD's share price jumped from $3 to over $140, earning Sue honors like Time's 2024 CEO of the Year. She also improved AMD's agreement with the semiconductor giant TSMC, ensuring reliable chip production and continued growth.
第二部分看到形容词 reliable， 它的意思是品质或性能稳定的、可信赖的。例如 This software is known for being fast, secure, and reliable. 这套软体以快速、安全、稳定著称。再看一个例子 The train service was usually reliable, but today everything was delayed. 火车服务系统通常很可靠，但今天所有班次都延误了。
All right, we are back. So Lisa Su has been quite successful at AMD. She is now the president. She was made CEO in 2014, and the company was not doing well when she got the job, but she quickly turned things around and led the company on its path to the current success it's enjoying. Let's see how successful it's been. It says, under Su's leadership, so I guess basically back since 2014 when she became the CEO. Under her leadership, under the time she's been CEO, AMD's share price jumped from $3 to over $140. Holy moly. Earning Su honors like Time's 2024 CEO of the Year. A very successful turnaround for AMD. If you bought AMD shares back then when they were so cheap, you've done quite well for yourself. A share, of course, is one small portion of a company. People use this as investments. We can also talk about stocks and shares, buying a bit of a company. If you bought an Apple share back in 1970 or something, that you would be very wealthy these days. So it earned her honors. It got her a lot of praise from the industry and from people who watch the computer industry. Time magazine, they named her the CEO of the Year just last year in 2024. So a lot of public recognition that she has done so well.
And she also improved AMD's agreement with the semiconductor giant TSMC, ensuring reliable chip production and continued growth. So I guess she was instrumental in securing this agreement between her company and TSMC so they could work together, and that would ensure or guarantee reliable chip production and continued growth. If something's reliable, it's dependable, it's not going to let you down. So again, they've got good chip production. They can rely on their production. They can expect them to make money and sell very well. Okay, we're at the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Let's move on to the third and final part.
Apart from achieving business success, Su has also spoken at major schools and industry events around the world, where she encourages students to take on complex problems and view them as opportunities for growth. What do we want to be when we grow up? She is known to ask. This may seem like a simple question, but if Su's success proves anything, it's that having clear goals can bring big rewards.
第三部分看到名词 reward， 它表示奖励，可以说 The police offered a reward for anyone who had information about the crime. 警方提供奖赏给任何有这起犯罪相关情报的人。最后一个例子 Kylie let her daughter have some ice cream as a reward for cleaning her room. Kylie 让她女儿吃一些冰淇淋作为打扫房间的奖励。
All right, we are back. Let's get back to our article as we wrap up our look at Lisa Su. It says, apart from achieving business success, which clearly she has, she was named the CEO of the Year just last year by Time. So apart from her success in the professional world, in her professional life, Su has also spoken at major schools and industry events around the world, where she encourages students to take on complex problems and view them as opportunities for growth. Remember that advice she got, run towards the hardest problem? She is passing that lesson and that philosophy to younger people. I guess you could call her a superstar or rock star CEO, right? There's a lot of companies out there in the world, but most of us who aren't in the industry might only be able to name 5 or 10 of them, and she is definitely one of them. So a lot of people look to her for advice in a number of different things, not just about the microchip business or something. And she's encouraged students to take on, to sort of accept the challenge of complex problems. When you take on something, you sort of view this as something that you will do. I'm going to take on a new project. I'm going to take on a new hobby. It's going to take some time and some effort, and it's going to be a challenge, but I want a challenge, and I will try to do as best as I can. That's what she's encouraging young people to do. What do we want to be when we grow up? She is known to ask. To sort of envision a future that you want to create for yourself. Envision, where you will be in your career, your life 10, 20 years years from now and then take logical steps to work towards that. So she is known to ask. This is a common thing. She often challenges young people with this idea, this question, when she makes speeches to them.
Indeed, that's kind of her motto or her slogan or whatever. What do we want to be when we grow up? Of course, a lot of times our parents ask us this question when we're growing up. What do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a truck driver, or whatever? And so this is kind of like her sort of slogan here. And this may seem like a simple question, but if Sue's success proves anything, it's that having clear goals can bring big rewards. Okay, so of course we see her as a successful person, but we also can see that if you have those clear goals, if you know what you want to achieve, then those goals can be rewarding for you. They can bring big rewards. A reward, of course, is something you receive as a result of doing something. It's like you might get a reward for helping somebody find their lost dog or something. Maybe they'll give you $100 NT or something like that. But don't confuse that with the word award, A-W-A-R-D. That's like getting a trophy or some kind of certificate for winning a speech competition or something like that. Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. Here comes Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分提到几个复合形容词，像是 low earning 获利低的， high performance 高性能的等等。我们这边就来介绍一些常见复合形容词组成方式。首先是跟数字有关的复合形容词，它的组成有可能是数字连字号名词，像 4 year 4年的， 5 star 5星级的。那特别注意，这个组合里面的名词一律是用单数表示。我们还可以用序数连字号名词来构成复合形容词，像 7th grade 就是7年级的。再来，我们可以用数字连字号名词，然后名词的后面有加上 ed， 像 3-legged 3条腿的， two-sided 双面的。我们再来看看是跟名词做搭配的，像第一种组合是名词连字号形容词，World famous 世界知名的， duty free 免税的，就是这一类组合。还有可以用名词连字号名词，像 name brand 表示名牌的，还有名词连字号名词，但后面这个名词字尾再加上 ed， 像 freckle faced 就是满脸雀斑的。接着还有名词连字号分词的组合，那这个分词有可能是 VING 或 PP， 像 award winning 得奖的， man-made 人造的人为的。那接着我们要看看是跟形容词的搭配。首先第一个组合是形容词连字号形容词，像 little known 鲜为人知的。再来可以是形容词连字号名词，这时候我们可以用像 long term 来描述长期的，还有 large scale 就是表达大规模大范围的。好，那么再来看到形容词连字号名词，那么名词后面有加 ed， 像 short haired 表示短发的， old fashioned 表示过时的。再来还有形容词连字号分词的组合，那这个分词有可能是 VING 或 PP， 像是 sweet smelling 就是像那种闻起来香甜的， ready made 表示现成的。再来课文第三部分，他提到苏姿丰鼓励学生接受复杂的问题，并将其视为成长的机会。文中是用 view them as opportunities for growth 来表达将其视为成长的机会。那我们这边要介绍 view A as B 来表达将 A 视为 B。 动词 view 在这边是表示看待视为，也可以换成 see regard think of 等等。那么 as 的后面呢，可以接名词或形容词，例如 She viewed the job as the opportunity of a lifetime， 她认为这个工作是千载难逢的好机会。那补充一下，被动句型则是 A be seen as, be viewed as, be regarded as, be thought of as 再加上 B 表达 A 被视为 B， A 被认为是 B。 那同样的 as 的后面也可以接名词或形容词，例如 This place is thought of as the best restaurant in the city， 这个地方被认为是城里最棒的餐厅。好，那以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Stiff. Drivers who ignore the new traffic law can expect to face stiff penalties. Competition. There is heavy competition among the students for scholarships this year. Chip. Many modern cars rely on computer chips to control a variety of important systems. Reliable. We need to make sure that we have a reliable internet connection for our online meetings. Reward. The company has started offering employees cash rewards for improved performance.
Discussion Starter starts now!
It's time now for our discussion starter for today. The question is, what do you think has made Lisa Su such a success in the business world?
I'd say I think she has been so successful because she is naturally very talented and intelligent, and she works really hard, and maybe throw in a little sprinkle of good luck.
Well, in my opinion, her success mainly comes from the fact that she knew exactly what she wanted to do when she was very young. Okay, some of us don't really know that until we're much older, but some people become very successful when they know what they want to do from a very young age. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I am Mike.
See you next time.